Okay, never mind all the introduction. We were muted. So I'm here with Ido, my friend. We'll talk about it later. Okay. So we follow the main lines of the Rui Lopez. A4 and A3 are the main lines, but people know it very well by now and prepared how to properly defend against it. So now C3 was played, which is just a simple move, attempting to keep tension, let's say, keep the center together. We reached the main lines with the pawn on D3 instead of D4. So now I pressed X instead of Alt when doing the arrows, and look what happened. It just turns on the engine here.
Oh, I see.
It's annoying. C3 castles, H3, Bishop B7, A4. So by now we have a main line of the Rui Lopez, but without the rook on E1 and with the pawn on D3 instead of D4. So white saved the tempo, but is also a bit less aggressive with the center. So A4 was played, which I had time to check until we started, and apparently it's the top computer recommendation here by Stockfish 15, Knight A5, Bishop A2, C5, and both players are following the top engine move, and they played relatively quickly. Bishop G5, H6. Now Bishop H4 might be complicated, but I guess they want none of that. Bishop takes F6, Bishop F6, AB5, AB5, Knight BD2. For some reason, if you start with Knight BD2 after B4, it's probably a better version for black than what we got here. And Knight BD2, Knight C6, Bishop D5. And here the computer said that it's close to equality. And both players have followed the correct follow-ups. So they played Rook A1, Queen D7, Rook E1, Rook A8, Queen D1 relatively quickly. As we can see, Nepomniachtchi starts with 2 hours, has 1 hour and 58 minutes practically. And Ding thought for like the 46 minutes, not including the increment. Which goes to show that he's not very well prepared to this position, but he probably feels confident having played 19 moves relatively quickly. So, okay, let's talk about this position a little bit. Or maybe I can reintroduce you while they think, okay? So this is my friend Ido.
Hi.
Yes, and we grew up together in the chess club in Israel. And we know each other for more than 15 years. And as I mentioned earlier, when we were muted, you are probably a genuinely intelligent person, so you retired on time, like around the age of like
14, 15.
14, 15, yeah. And for those who are watching, what is your level online approximately?
I guess I'm around 1400.
1400 on Blitz? Or Rapid?
On Blitz.
On chess.com?
On Lichess, I guess.
Lichess. I'm not sure which one is harder. Like someone made a graph of like, I think around 2400 level, both of them are worth the same. When you go above 2400, they align with the real rating more or less. But below, one of the sites is easier or have weaker players. And there's also a whole graph for what's going on below 1000 rating, which is interesting.
Yeah.
So, okay, 1400 is pretty good. Like it's around 95, the top 5% of the players, like who are active online as far as statistics are concerned. And and you retired on time. You probably had time to accumulate even more hobbies. And also, recently you have a big boy job, which I am very excited to know about, to hear about. If I'm not wrong, it's in the field of programming, right? Like
in the field of computer vision and artificial intelligence.
Yeah, that sounds impressive. And half of my conversations have been drifted towards these topics of recently. And I try to do what Elon Musk did, like to say that I'm willing to only talk about AI and the end of the world in the jacuzzi. And I don't even have a jacuzzi. So like I haven't been in one for like, I don't know, more than 10 years probably. So yeah, So that's a good limitation.
We have to talk about other things.
Yes, that's what I meant. Maybe I'll do it with boring chess openings also one day.
Yeah.
Random rules for that. So bishop d8 was played, and now, so Ido, when you look at this position, which is obviously a very high level kind of position, this move bishop d8 is a move that I probably wouldn't have thought about, and it's safe to say that 80% of the viewers would not have considered playing it in their own game. And this is what we like to refer to as high level chess. What do you think about this kind of positions that us humans don't tend to understand very well? Now I can see the idea, but it was hard to guess. So for some reason, if knight e7 one move earlier, let's move on to the analysis board actually, so people can actually see what we are doing. So bishop d8. If black had played knight e7 immediately after bishop b7, queen b7, this bishop is stuck here. Yeah, maybe it's better on d8, so you can either push f5 if needed, or bishop b6 later on in case of d4. So bishop d8 makes sense now that we look at it. So knight f1 is a natural move, going for knight e3 or knight g3. It's they call it
Maneuver?
I think it's either the Spanish or the Italian maneuver or something like this. Like this knight is this kind of thing where they go from b1, the starting square, to b2, to f1, to g3. It's a very typical maneuver, and it has a name. I just don't know what it is. So
my guess is that it is the Spanish maneuver.
Yeah. So let's say knight e7. This is the position on the board. We can anticipate bishop takes b7 or c4. Yeah, let's just wait and see. I have a feeling Nepomniachtchi is still prepared somewhat to the concepts in this position. So for some reason he already played. So he took on b7, queen b7. He doesn't like to think today. Maybe he reached the conclusion that if he thinks, maybe he can make mistakes. Queen takes b7, and now it's white to move. So let's have a look at the chat. We have I think more viewers than in the previous streams. 5 already at the beginning. We are very impressive. So but very active in the chat. We have Elon saying we are kings, which is nice. Thank you, Elon. In Hebrew. It's a very typical. And we have other viewers who helped us understand we are muted, so thank you for that. Chrishanu, Nithun, how do I pronounce your names? Damien, hello again, the most loyal viewer we had in these streams so far. And Mark, yes, thank you very much for watching us. And Chrishanu, or Krishanu probably makes sense. Krishanu shares that he's 1500 plus on lichess, hinting that he can kick your ass. So maybe if the game ends quickly, we can challenge him and have you beat him, just for fun. And we'll show him what 1400s from Farsaba Chess Club are worth. So let's see, queen b7. We have more moves. Where are they? They should update automatically. So here, knight e3, bishop b6. So, quick question, Ido. If this game ends in half an hour, is it a positive or negative thing from your perspective?
It would be positive if it would end in half an hour, and it would still be positive if it will end in 3 hours from now.
Yeah, but assuming that you coming here to perform a job, and your job is finished, how do you feel like if you are free after half an hour? We can still stream, we can talk, we can look at the game.
So I'll
play with the chat.
I'll be chilled. The same way I would be chilled if the game would hold on for 3 hours.
Yeah, interesting. To me, if the game ends quickly, it means a few things. First, the game is perfect, probably, with no mistakes. It's quick, it's efficient. I'm free to mind my own business. So I see only positive things. Only thing that annoys me is that I want to see blood. That's what we came here for. And also, I kind of wanted to learn from these players. But I guess they're like from my own individual perspective, Ding does play an opening that I play with black, and Jan does toy with ideas that I toyed with white. Like so, from every one of these boring games, so to speak, they reveal a lot of information about showing us the right way to play with both colors when it comes to simple positions that are main lines of one of the three most popular openings in chess in history. So let's try to actually come up with some moves. So black just played bishop b6. Is black threatening anything?
Well, not that I could see any major threat.
So black is not threatening much. Okay, so probably is just preparing for white's main idea, and also prepares his own f5 for later. Like not right now, but maybe rook f8, f5, maybe g6, king g7, and f5. If black wants to play for an advantage later on or to grab space, this could be nice. We can safely assume that white would like to play c4 at some point. It would make a lot of sense to put the pawns on c4 and maybe b3. There are two issues with this, though. First of all, black is the one who took over the file, so this only open file will favor black, or if they exchange all the pieces, it will just be a draw. And second thing about c4 is that if you ever play knight d5, I immediately take it, and you have to take with the pawn and ruin your structure, which is not fun. If I could somehow plant this knight here, I'll be very happy with the white pieces. I mean, slightly happy. So, okay, black doesn't have a threat. Black is just preventing white's idea. So, white wanted to go d4. Maybe he can do it, maybe he can't. Let's see. Let's check it, even though it doesn't make sense. Like, it feels wrong, but let's see what happens. Try to anticipate black's moves. So, should probably take. If he ignores it and lets white to play de or d5, then it will favor white. So
weaken his pawn structure.
Yeah, it makes sense to open up the bishop. Why not? Now taking feels like a mistake because knight d4 leaves weak pawns here. So in this variation that we are checking, black can consider taking on e4. This doesn't really win a pawn because after d takes c5 or knight c4, the queen is attacked, and after the queen moves, knight takes b6, queen b6, white gets the pawn back, and white has a slightly more active position. For example, knight e5, white's pieces are a little bit more active than the knight here. So this probably is not the way. So what else? White is threatening d takes e5, or d5 maybe sometimes. So knight c6 makes sense now. I don't need to guard d5 now because I'm attacking this pawn, so you have to react. If you go d5, I jump to d4, and this bishop can be very strong here, or on c5 later, and black has no real trouble. And if you go d5, I can simply take, and after I protect this pawn, I can once again jump to d4, go rook d8, f6, knight d4, the bishop is open. It doesn't seem like black has any care in the world. So just for the sake of analysis, knight d5, let's say I move my rook to d8 like I promised. Next move f6, move after that I go knight d4. Let's say your only real attempt to annoy me is to attack the b5 pawn somehow. But this opens the option for me to jump immediately with the attack on the queen. And once again we have a very let's say, solid position for both colors. They like to say double-edged, like when it's complicated and each side can win. I wonder if you can say zero-edged, no edge to anyone.
Yeah.
a zero-edged position, a non-edged, non-edgeable. We will come up with a word, I'm sure. So
I think in Hebrew it's called a dead draw.
yeah, also in English, but it's like I'm just looking for play on words with the zero edge. We'll find something. I made up a lot of chess vocabulary that I haven't had a chance to use or popularize. So, for example, when someone comes to me and I'm playing chess, and they call me over the phone, and they're like, "Hey, how are you?" I'm like, "Oh, blunderful, thank you," and they never understand what I want from them. So yeah. So h4. Oh, this move should arrive at some point. There is a famous phrase that nobody knows that goes,
That h4 is always a good move,
yes.
except for when it doesn't.
No, this is not part of the sentence. That's
No,
your
but
addition.
every rule has exceptions.
Yeah. But if you say h4 is always good, and someone doesn't get that the part, the logic, the actual logic of h4 not actually always working, they deserve playing h4.
For the wrong reasons.
Yes, when they shouldn't. So anyway, h4 with the idea h5, and then because the pawn is on h6, black has a hard time playing g6, so the knight will jump to the nice square of f5. That's the only idea that white has. h5 now would make sense, at least at some point, to prevent white from going h5, but that would leave the square on g5 open and the pawn a little bit vulnerable. G6 is not feeling so good because h5, and this is not a good pawn to take. And if you go g5, you leave these two squares very weak. So it's an interesting attempt by Nepomniachtchi, probably the only resource in the position. And it's also aimed against any f5 related idea, so it's nice. If you ever play f5, or plan to play f5, let's say for example rook f8, not that it makes too much sense, I can go h5, and after f5 I can just take, or go knight h4. What do I take with? See, e takes f5, knight f5, something along these lines. Maybe I should give a check first, and then win a pawn. Much better. Okay, so h4, black is thinking, and yeah, it's funny because every time they stop, after I criticize them for playing a boring game or having an equal position, I ponder about myself if I had to play either of them with either color, and I said I would have 0 out of 4 in any position. Like this position with black, I would lose. They played h4, I'm gone, I'm dead. If I play h4 with white, okay, I have drawing chances here, but yeah, I guess with white it's easier to keep everything safe. But maybe you'll get the bishop out, and you'll have a small edge later when the positions open up. So, especially yesterday, 2 days ago in the game that Ding won, they had a very crazy position with a pawn sacrifice, and Ding had with white pawns on d5 and e5. And I looked at it after I criticized Ding. Like Ding could have a solid advantage, and he chose a complicated position that's really unclear. And I was like very critical. Oh, why didn't he go for the advantage? He doesn't understand chess enough. Blah, blah, blah. And then I'm looking at it and damn, I will have 0 out of 4. Like against both of them. Like no matter on which day of the year they are. Like it's complicated. They just want to win. They like it, and I should be thankful for having such pleasant positions to look at.
Yeah.
Yes. So. And it ended up being one of the most beautiful World Championship games I've seen in the last decade.
Interesting.
Yes. So, because of Jan's help. So, h4, Ding is known for his technical abilities. He's a strategical master. So, he's much more likely to play a positional move now than anything that's too tactical. But one thing about him that's nice is that he's also very good at tactics, like in dynamic chess. He can understand pawn sacrifice and exchange sacrifice even when they're tactical, and attack the king if necessary. So when it comes to Ding, he is like a universal player, you know. Probably his only weakness is that he's what do you call it? Innocent in a way, like he's
Naive.
yeah, but he's not naive in chess. It's like his approach to the game is like I don't know how to describe it. It's like he's chill, like he's confident. He, so, for example, Jan could have prepared this position. Ding in the interview can say, "Oh, Bishop G5, I didn't see this move before," and he played all the computer moves, you know, without thinking. That's like the difference between them. Like Ding, his flaw is that he's too strong, so things come easily to this guy. So he doesn't bother doing
prepare as much.
Yeah, he doesn't like. He probably prepares a lot, but in a different style that us humans do. Like he doesn't really check all the variations thoroughly. That's what I understood from the interviews. Or either that, or there is a cultural difference in how you expose information about yourself. Like I'm sure he's not lying, but maybe there's some cultural gap that makes him say something like that. Maybe he has standards that if he didn't check it for 10 hours, only 9, you know, he probably doesn't know it very well. So maybe more information will be revealed soon. Queen c6. What a lovely move. I would have never guessed it. What's the point? Can you help me?
Let's see.
Let's say Jan continues with his idea. Ding obviously understood that h5 is coming. So what does he want? Why did he put his queen on c6? I have a guess. So,
well, my only guess is that he wants to protect the undefended b5 pawn.
Unprotected b5 pawn, sure. And also in this file, maybe he's preparing c4 to open up his bishop for the sake of counterplay. And now, if you go for your knight h4 plan, first of all, I can take here. Secondly, I can take on e3. And now your knight on h4 doesn't interest anyone. It doesn't threaten anyone. And I can just continue my plan, rook a2 or something, you know? Just put my pieces on active square. Maybe I even have d5, you know?
So when you pushes, instead of keeping my plan, I can take on c4.
Yes, and now I'm wondering, probably b takes c4, and now this pawn is slightly weak, and bishop e3, rook b8. If I have pressure on this weakness, I will not be worse. Like it will offset the weakness I have on d6. You see? So white doesn't have time for knight h4. So I like queen c6 quite a lot. It's what I like to refer to as a subtle move. I understand, that's what I was talking about, strategy. I understand you have your strategy. My strategy is faster and better. And now he's kind of like on a spiritual level forcing Jan's hand because he's creating a strategical threat. Now either c4, b3, queen somewhere is called for, you know? But once you react, then it's black who kind of plays for the initiative. And maybe even if you prevent c4, I can still play c4 followed by bishop e3. So let's say c4 is a natural move, at least to humans. Now it closed the bishop, right? So probably now I have the d4 outpost for the knight. So we can anticipate queen somewhere, followed by knight c6 maybe. Could be funny if he moves the queen. Also rook a2 makes sense, doesn't it? It's funny how almost every move here is green. Both of them are good, b4 and bc. Although bc I don't like very much, this position, like now that he has the file. So we can expect c4. b3 also looks like a solid move, aimed against c4, right? but it opens up this line. So maybe now rook a2 can come with more power, and c4 will come later.
Yeah, and it takes the b3 spot from the queen.
Yeah, once the game will be centered around, let's say, this area of the board, the queen side, more or less, then it will make h4 a bit less useful, seem a little bit more pointless. Like, take the venom out of this move and we'll make it look as a weakening move. So queen e2 was played, which makes sense against c4. It's one of the alternatives I mentioned. And if now I play c4 anyway, probably d takes c4, and I don't have time for bishop e3 because of cb5. See? And I win one pawn. Bishop takes f2, king f2, and I'm a pawn up. And a healthy pawn. So now, not c4, of course. So queen e2. What are we expecting from Mr. Liren? So either some active move with the rook, or an attempt to generate counterplay, like something along these lines, like getting this in. f6 is bad though, probably, because white can still play c4, and then f6 was a very weakening move for the light squares. It will be very bad for this bishop if all the pawns are on dark squares. So the most natural move is to move the rook. Let's try to explain how we think when we look at such a position. Let's look from the black piece's perspective. So first question, what is the opponent
threatening?
Yes. Normally it's h5, knight h4, but it's not a major threat. We have time. Okay, second question.
Which piece is not working?
Correct. Also known as Makagonov principle in the Soviet chess school. He was a famous chess coach who used to keep saying it. And I mean, he probably spoke Russian, but I imagine him saying it with a Russian accent.
Yeah.
So, which piece doesn't work? And like, yes. And then I'm like, oh, okay. Oh, the rook. So put it on the second rank, 7th from black's perspective. Rooks love to penetrate to the 7th rank. And now, let's say white continues their idea. What do we do next?
Let's see.
So here, h5. What do we do? Let's continue the same trend.
We could either ignore White's plan to put his knight on f5 and proceed our game in the queen area, or we could react to White's plan, and in order to do that, I might have played queen f6.
So, which move are we thinking of?
So I guess I would play. Missed that pawn.
So which move? Let's see. Bishop is not playing. The knight is good against these knights, so it's a defensive piece. These jumps. So we can say that one option is to improve the bishop somehow, or at least lay out a plan for that. And another plan is to somehow push d5, probably. Improving the queen is also possible, but not so easy to achieve.
Yeah.
So, of course, f6 is a good idea to prepare this d5 push, but as I mentioned, it weakens the position a bit. So, what can we expect? So, let's see. I thought queen e2 was played, but I don't see it on my chess board. No, queen e2 wasn't played. I imagined it. I imagined queen e2 played. Okay, never mind. I think the lichess board did show it, but maybe it was a mistake or something. Sometimes they correct it somehow. Let's see. Queen. So white is thinking for the first time in this game. Normally this is a good time to start meditating. So I wonder why the lichess board doesn't work. Like the lichess stream. There's something wrong. It's hard. It's really hard to make it work. One day I will figure out the lichess mystery. Okay, let's get back to this position. We can also talk about other things while he thinks, whatever we want. So when you look at this position with white, let's say you have a game. Let's even raise the wage a little bit. So raise up the stakes. Let's say that you were playing against a player of your level, even slightly better rated, like this Krishanu guy from earlier. You play against him in real life. Your friends, you bet like $10,000 on this game. You have this position, and you're playing with white. Okay?
Okay.
So it's not the same as playing the World Championship when you're on their level, but let's use this thought experiment to try to project how you would feel and think in such a position. So it's your move. You have like an hour and a half. What is your thinking process before you make a move?
So I would look for threat for
From the yeah, we mentioned c4 is a threat.
Yeah.
Positionally speaking. So, what do you think?
So I could we kind of spoke about it earlier. I could either push myself on d4, or I could
Here?
yeah, but I'm not sure that it's so good. Like I think a queen move, which we have spoken about before, would be better.
Yeah, d4. We didn't mention in this particular position. It could be very interesting. Or a queen move to like e2 or b3.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's analyze d4. You play d4. You analyze d4 in your head. What do you think for black? As I mentioned earlier, probably you can guess that the bishop doesn't want to remain closed forever.
Yeah. So you'll probably first take with the c pawn.
Yeah, before white can close the position for the knight. And now, let's calculate. So, obviously queen e4 is not very threatening because of knight c4.
Yeah.
So what else? What do you anticipate black to play against you?
So if I were black, I wouldn't take that extra pawn if it would leave him with a weak pawn on d6. Um, so it seems like the black knight is not very participating in the game.
Yes.
Um,
Only after the defender.
I think if I were black here, I would play rook a2.
Rook a2. But white kind of threatens d takes e5, so I'm not sure if it works. We might lose some material. But how about f6 now? Because now that you played d4 and I took on d4, my bishop is open and I put a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
And now queen e4 might be a threat. This could be potentially logical. I'm not sure if it's a good move, but it definitely makes sense. And thankfully we have a move. The other alternative is of course c4, which is quite safe. And the queen move, as you mentioned, which is hard to assess. Queen b3 makes a lot of sense. Let's see, what did he play in the game? h5, he completely ignored everything. And he followed what we analyzed. He played h5. He doesn't mind allowing black's c4. So we want to play c4 probably, unless queen c6 makes very little sense. And if we lose one more tempo, the knight h4 is coming. And then knight f5 and queen g4 can be very annoying. So we have to rush. So c4 with the idea of knight h4, bishop takes e3 as I mentioned, right? And d5. And now if you take, I can take with the queen. If you take here, I can take with the d pawn. Queen g4 is probably the main idea, but it can't be followed by knight f5 as white would like, because this knight is very good in the defense. So we can anticipate c4, which has been played quite quickly. And now, after c4, white is thinking, what can we expect? So let's change the bet. You play against Cristiano with black, because you wouldn't have played the h5 with white, most probably. You would have seen c4 and wouldn't have allowed it, like Jan.
Yeah.
Nepomniachtchi. Yeah, he must have calculated something, but it's not your problem anymore. You're black, you played c4, you're just trying to equalize. Let's even assume that if you equalize, you gain 20% of the opponent's wager. Yeah. So if they bet $10,000, you get $2,000 in the case of a draw. So c4 is a safe move, right? You don't have to risk much.
Yeah.
You want to keep everything under control, to have your pieces active. This pawn might be weak. Even if you end up losing d6, like in this structure, which you want, 2 pawns against 1, with the rook behind, like attacking this pawn and the queen behind it, could be pretty paralyzing for white in many cases.
Yeah.
So, yeah, c4 is nice. And Jan is thinking, and let's say you are playing with the black pieces, white. Let me tell you something. I won't ask you about your calculations now, because it's not up to you anymore. In fact, there is a very famous advice in the chess, let's say, professional circles. I'm not sure who made it up first, but it says that when it's your move, you need to calculate, and when it's the opponent's move, you need to think more abstractly. Just like I mentioned, having this pawn against these two, and like thinking about deep things. Like, for example, like what happens if the queens are off the board? Is my king open? Like some people came up with sets of dozens of questions that you can ask yourself, but you don't need to actually memorize any questions. You can just use your own brain to come up with abstract concepts about the position and improve your understanding of the position. So for a start, we can see that these three things here are quite symmetrical, right? also
Yeah.
this. So in terms of a pawn structure, like the only difference is that this pawn is moved once and this pawn moved thrice, and that these two pawns by black are pushed 2 squares forward. So it's a very similar structure.
Yeah.
We don't have a lot of unbalanced things going on. So, but it does make some differences, right? So let's talk about the pawn structure in an abstract way. So this pawn on c4 in every endgame can control this pawn, and it's closer to the queen square, so it's nice. If it stays on the board, it's nice. If you exchange, then this should favor black in terms of pawn structure, because there is a rule of thumb, let's say, that when you exchange an A pawn for a B pawn, it favors you. When you exchange a B pawn for a D pawn or a C pawn, it favors you. And this rule goes all the way up to the F file. So even if I exchange an E pawn versus an F pawn, in many cases it favors the person who exchanged their E pawn. Even though it's not towards the center, like all the way from A to F, you want to exchange the pawn that is closer to the queen side. So in a more meaningful pawn that's in the center or protects the king, for example. So c4, it's a good structural move for the pawns. What's the flaw? It's probably progressed a little bit too much. It could become a target on c4 by the pieces, not by the pawns. And d6 could remain weak after the file is open, right? So we have two flaws. We have a few advantages, like we can have target this pawn, we open up the bishop, we can probably push d5 later. We kind of keep everything under control. So it must be a balanced strategical decision by Ding. So let's see what else is going on in the position if we talk philosophically about it. So we have the same pieces, right? There is a material balance. There's only one difference. Black has the bishop and white has the knight. And if we ignore all the tactical factors of the position, as long as black can keep these two squares under control, then probably, which piece do you think is better?
So I would guess that the bishop would be better.
Yes, I also like to think so, because the bishop in an open position has a wide range, and all of the pieces it can attack are good. And generally speaking, you will always be able to exchange the bishop for a knight if you so please. It's very likely that you'll have the chance, because it's hard to escape from the bishop's range. Especially if you want to control the light squares, you have to place your knight on a dark square. So the bishop is nice. The pawn structure is nice. Okay? If f6 and d5 would come, then black will be the one strategically playing for the advantage. Or rook d8 and d5 and stuff like that later on. Black has the control over the open file, which also is a positional factor. So we can conclude that three factors we mentioned favor black. And also black has a lot of space, right?
Yeah.
His queen is a little bit more active. So white only has two things going on for him. One, some dominance in the king side. And two, some dominance in the center that includes threatening to take over some squares, which causes black to be passive a little bit with his knight. So white's knights are a little bit more active than black's. And he has, like, white has an advantage on the king side, black has an advantage on the queen side, and none of them has targets for the time being. So, as I mentioned, from positional point of view, black is slightly more preferable. However, from tactical point of view, everything is going on in the center. This rook is less useful than this rook in the center.
Yeah.
This knight is less useful than this knight, or this one, for example. So, and the queen is not that bad on d1 if you compare them. So white has some sort of a tactical advantage, and black has a strategical edge. And white chose to let's say, utilize his tactical advantage by playing d4. So that makes sense, because normally you want the pawn on c4, 5 to take on d4, but you committed yourself to playing c4. And even though white is the one who broke the tension, like if you look at it more deeply, it's actually black who did it. So let me just make a random dummy move. If white played d4, you would say that c4 breaks the tension, right?
Yeah.
So black kind of overpushed, and white just takes over the center, the squares that are left.
Yeah.
And now this pawn is no longer attacking central squares in the small center. This is called the small center of the board. And that's where pawns want to conquer everything. So d4. So obviously a good move for white's chances. It has a lot of tactical aspects going on with it. So one thing, it leaves this guy a little bit vulnerable. What else? Let's think. It can do it takes d4 maybe. Can I help open up the bishop? Like if I take and you take with the pawn, I have suddenly passed pawn coming your way, even though you have the center. If you take with the knight, it might be good for you, but it's like probably I can move my queen somewhere. I don't know. It's probably just good for white if I do it. It's hard to judge. But one achievement is that I prevented you from taking over the center like you wanted. And if I ignore you, you want to go d5. So now it's time to calculate. I said earlier, when it's white to move, it's time to think. So we talked about the aspects. We let them sink a little bit. And now it's time to just think about sequences of moves. So another technique in professional chess is to come up with candidate moves. So I like to use the method of saying what do I say? Like trying to help, like to assist myself with the calculation process. I think about three things: checks, captures, and threats. Checks, captures, and threats. Checks are not available right now, so it's easy. We eliminate checks.
Yeah.
Captures, we have 2, and we can eliminate queen takes e4 rather quickly after knight c4. Yeah?
Yeah.
So ed4 is the capture, and I also eliminated this because of knight d4. And threats. So threats are moves that create a threat. So let's say one move that creates a threat is rook a2. Another move that creates a threat is probably f6 that defends this and prepares everything for queen takes e4 later on. Another option is hard to find. So maybe e takes d4 is almost forced because black is under a lot of pressure. It's really hard to guess. So white is threatening d takes e5, right?
D takes c5 or pushing.
Pushing is not so annoying because you don't have the square anymore and you open up my bishop. Okay. It is good for the pawn structure, but it's very bad for the pieces. This is what we refer to as breaking the tension. If I had a knight on b6 instead of a bishop, then pushing would be a nice idea. Or if I had like a bishop here instead.
Yeah.
Pushing would be perfect. So
maybe f6.
So maybe f6. f6 is a good move for defending e5, but as we said, it's a little bit weakening.
Yeah.
Can you do a similar style move to defend e5 that maybe is a little bit more subtle? The renowned coach Mark Dvoretsky referred to it as the mysterious rook move. So I give you
Yeah. I guess it would be rook e8 if
rook
rook e8, or alternatively rook a5.
e8
I'll go with e8 for the
here.
defense. Yeah.
He doesn't really defend though.
Yeah, but in order to kind of defend with the rook, it's either from e8 or from e5 or from a5.
A5 also doesn't really defend for now. I mean, there's no time for this.
Yeah.
What other mysterious rook moves can you come up with?
Oh, I see. Sorry. Rook d8.
Yes. That's a high level kind of move because the point that if d5, then of course you don't have
Yeah.
time for knight e5. It favors black because of the queen. And for later, I can go d5 with more force. So, if it was black to move, maybe queen e4 is a threat now. We're not sure. And also, like d5 could come up with a lot of force. So, for example, if you go knight h4, which was a big plan earlier, d5 is a very major option now. And suddenly everything explodes in the center. It's really hard to calculate, but intuitively it feels like an interesting option that needs to be dealt with. So we reach this move by the same mechanism of thought that we explained earlier. We think, what is white's threat? We see only one threat, nothing special besides that. Which piece doesn't work? Ironically, it's the rook. It seems like the most active piece, but as you can see, it's attacking thin air, while in the center we have a lot of major things going on. So we put it in the most active square, both defending and attacking. But Ding doesn't want none of it, he just took. We can anticipate knight d4 because cd4 is a little bit risky. Even if it was good, which it isn't, then after, let's say, a move like rook a2, and later on d5, let's say, structurally speaking, let's say I put my queen somewhere, and you get this structure, after b4 and b3 or c3, white could end up in a lot of trouble, and d4 could become a target. And even if it moves, the bishop is open, so cd4 is not smart. Knight d4 is what we can expect. And now d6 is slightly weakened, knight df5 is probably coming. So I'm assuming, can only assume that black intends to take with the bishop, and now white will probably take with the queen. And then rook a2. And once again, we have a relatively balanced position. Each side has its own trumps, you know. Black has the open file, the active rook, the space. White has a little bit stronger center and space on the king side. The queen is active. This pawn is weak. But intuitively speaking, probably close to equality, to balanced. Because none of them has a major threat or initiative going on.
Yeah.
We can anticipate that everything will be traded somehow. So just an example will be rook d1, rook b2, rook queen d6, and so on and so forth, you know? So, yeah. Or knight somewhere. I don't know. It's really hard to come up with moves. So, for white at this point. So, bishop d4 can be anticipated. So, we played queen c5. I don't like queen c5. On an intuitive basis only, I prefer bishop takes d4. But you know, it's hard to guess.
Yeah.
The reason I don't like queen c5 is because it doesn't achieve much. You're not really attacking this pawn. Maybe he wants to play b4 next, actually, that's his point. But these knights are pretty strong now, and the queen will attack d6 eventually. It's probably aimed against this square and preparing this, but it's a bit twisted because the queen is not really happy in this square.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of interferes with the plan of pushing the knights to f5, the white knights to f5. As after knight takes, then f2 would be left unprotected.
Yes. So it's hard to suggest a move now for white, but it feels like white should be doing fine. So yeah. So here, c5. So here, queen c5. It's really hard for me to say anything smart. So try to suggest a move for white. Knight somewhere. So we reverse the board again.
Yeah,
You're
so
still betting against Cristiano, theoretically, hypothetically. And now, so let's say you have once again like an hour on the clock. You play with white. You don't understand what's going on. It's not a lie. It's very deep, very unbalanced. But you have to come up with a move. You have no choice. You have to think and then come up with a move. What do you do?
let's see. Um, So I would really like to play one of the knights to f5, but I've just calculated that it doesn't work as it gets traded, and then
If you bring the other one, then queen f2.
yeah. So I would try to look for a move in order to prepare knight f5.
Yeah.
And this move could be maybe queen g4.
Queen g4. How does it prepare? Because of the mating threat?
Also, it reveals mating threats. Also, and it allows me to proceed with queen h4 in order to force you to try to force you to move your knight, so you could defend it with any other piece.
Well, let's say I do a random move just to ignore you. What do you do next?
So if I have to keep preparing, so maybe king f1, so that after I play knight f5, so that when you wouldn't be able to take, oh sorry, not king f1, king h1, so that
So
you
this is
wouldn't
not
be
a
able.
check.
Yeah, so this is not a check.
Okay.
And then my mate threat would be
I
stronger
want
than
to go
your.
queen g5 at some point. Okay. Not so smart. Let's keep ignoring you. You take, right?
Probably, yeah.
Okay. I'm gonna save in my rook somewhere. I don't have a square. Look at you, creating all these major threats. I don't have a move. Let's copy. When you see someone playing well, you copy them, right? I really don't see
Maybe
a
we've
good
gone a
move.
bit too much.
That's what they all tell me. Ah! I have an idea. How about... No, it doesn't work. I want to go rook a5 like a little baby. Going for this pawn, but your knights will not let me. I can't move my king. Can't. It's really hard to put a piece anywhere. There's literally no piece that can move. How about bishop d8? No. I can't come up with a move. It's really hard. Look at you. Probably found the right way to go. You're very motivated, huh? When I bring Cristiano to the to the picture.
I'm very motivated with whatever I do.
Yeah. Wow.
My personal belief is do your best and a little bit more.
Nice. My personal belief is do nothing and a little bit less. But it all boils up to the same outcome. It's just a different perspective.
Yeah.
I'm not saying achieve nothing. I'm saying do nothing. Like minimize the friction with reality. You see the difference?
Yeah, I'm trying to minimize the activities that I'm doing, but when I'm doing something, like I'll be fully committed and a
It
bit
sounds
more.
like the stand-up show by Jonathan Barak. You know?
Yeah,
Yeah. Whatever I do my best. Everyone knows this about me.
yeah.
Yes. So, yeah, my b4 move was not so smart.
I'm still
Okay.
chilled.
So you played queen g4. I want my knight on f6. That's what I want, but I can't get it there. So I don't have a lot of time. Maybe king somewhere. See, the colors help me understand what a moron I am on time. And this pawn is hanging if I bring my queen to g5 or something. It's not fun for me.
Also, after a night,
No. Maybe queen e5. Yeah. Finally I get the green one. I'm threatening this knight and I don't want to let you push it. And if you go to f5, then I can probably just trade on e3.
oh
And
no,
there's
but
no
I'm pushing,
checkmate.
but I'm pushing the other knight.
This knight?
Yeah, because I want to open the, I want to maneuver my rook from e3 to g3.
You want to maneuver your rook?
In the, I guess I want to do it in the future.
We have a B in our, I wanted to say,
Well, then the B is present.
in our studio. So, knight takes f5 makes a lot of sense. And also, yeah, bishop d4 no, doesn't. You take with the knight. I go with my rook somewhere. No, I have threatening knight h6. I have to move here. And then, probably black is kind of fine, right? Rook d1, I don't know.
Maybe f4? Oh, sorry, it's pinned.
Pinned. Yeah, so you don't have a lot of moves. All your rook d1 makes sense. Attacking d6. But it's, once again, getting very double-edged. Very complicated, very quickly. So queen g4, queen e5 makes a lot of sense. Another move that makes sense is queen f3 that I wanted to suggest, because it kind of hints at e5. It threatens knight f5 all the same because it protects f2. And yeah, it looks cool. f7 is hanging if the king moves. So, and if I go queen e5 all the same, maybe I have some knight g4 ideas. See? The queen has to move. And then It's still complicated. What a surprise. So it's funny, because many people would argue that this position is boring, and
Yeah.
technical. But almost always, when you look at a game, when one of the players is motivated to win, when they are strong, after a few moves, suddenly it becomes crazy.
Yeah.
Like this position is no longer boring. I'm not even sure which side is better, although I would probably take white. Like, because queen g4 and queen f3 seem rather easy, and black. There is a concept again when you speak about practical chess, result-oriented tournament games for professionals. You don't only want the computer to assess the position as better for you. It's much more preferable to have
Natural moves.
natural moves that work, or in other words, to be on the side who is less likely to make mistakes. That's
Yeah.
practical advantage. So, for example, many players they try to get to the zone of one mistake for the opponent.
Yeah.
Like if you're one move away from losing, then it's almost lost. It's by no means good for anyone
Yeah.
who, even if they are the best player in the world. So this situation after queen g4, queen f3 is very difficult for black because they have like 30 something legal moves, like on average. And if you have 30 legal moves or 35 legal moves and only two are good, naturally you could make a mistake because your brain
Yeah.
can come up with reasoning for why to make one of the moves that is not the best. And because of the unbalance, the position becomes concrete and
Yeah.
not natural for us humans. So after queen f3, probably, like as I mentioned, queen e5 is an idea to keep everything together. But rook a2 seems too slow already. So yeah, Ding is the one who has to be precise. So and queen g4 was played. Wow, all I need is to tell you that you can win some money, and then you play like Nepomniachtchi. Queen g4, very nice.
I wouldn't go as far as playing like Nepomniachtchi.
Well, for one move.
Yeah, if we both play d4 in the beginning,
Yeah.
it's another one move.
Yes. So here, black to play. What do we do?
For black.
Yeah. I mean, let's help Krishanu find a defensive move.
So let's see. Well, it's we've spoke about it earlier. We've seen that queen e5 is the kind of or nearly almost only move.
What do you say?
We viewed it earlier, and it seems like queen e5.
Because of the colorful help that we get
Yeah.
from the program that we are using for moves. So not the chess engine, but the chess program in which we are moving the pieces on. So it has this assisted analysis that help you understand which piece can move where and generate a bit quicker and more effective analysis. And we don't understand why other moves fail, but white does have a threat, knight f5. In fact, let me just demonstrate. If I give white another turn, I'm not even sure if you want to play king h1. Maybe you can just sacrifice f2.
Yeah, I didn't mind about f2. I minded that it was a check.
Yeah, but king h2, and I'm still having various threats.
Yeah.
Just wanted to mention it. It's probably not so good, but it exists.
I didn't want to calculate as much. I was like,
so black found it, queen e5. Now bishop d4 is an immediate threat, which simplifies the position for black. So white cannot allow it. And now we suggested knight ef5, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't see any other moves, and neither does our assisted analysis friend. So knight ef5. Knight takes f5. Knight takes f5.
Yeah.
He takes f5 will drop the rook. So
That wouldn't threat mate.
yes, it doesn't threat mate because queen
The
protects.
queen. Yeah.
But it threatens knight h6 check, which is nice. So king h7 is the most natural move to keep everything under control. Now I might remind you we looked at rook d1 and then I suggested rook a2, probably because of the colors. I mean, I touched the rook because I thought it was the only piece that doesn't work, but I wasn't sure if I wanted to defend passively and prepare d5 or rook a2. My intuition actually leaned towards rook a2 because rook d8 there is rook d5. So
Yeah.
which is fairly annoying. Yeah, attacks a lot of pieces. Okay, so rook a2, and now you don't really have a lot of time to take because of checkmate in the back rank. And if knight takes, then you don't threaten much, and I can just take with a threat on f2. So rook. The computer wants to play rook d5 with the idea of rook a1, rook d1 back, but it's not so smart. Probably king somewhere. Knight d6 is the move apparently, but there must be a tactical point because it looks lost. Is it knight f7? Really? Amazing! I would have never guessed this move. Because rook f2 I'm checkmating you probably, or at least I'm exchanging the rook, you know, like this. And I always have rook d8 at the very least.
Yeah.
So probably knight h6. No, rook d8 is the best move. Or maybe queen b6 is the blunder. Wow. Rook f7. Oh, everything is hanging. So fun. Bishop f2 is losing. King f1. Queen f6. And now, what's the move? Queen somewhere. No? Rook d8? e5. What? Queen e4. This is crazy, man. Crazy stuff. Okay. Okay. I feel like a supercomputer when I analyze with these green colors.
Yeah.
Crazy lines.
I got lost in the middle.
Yeah. Jan wanted none of it. He played knight f3. So nice. Knight f3. Leave me alone, man. Let's go back with the queen. Let's make it draw.
Yeah, maybe it's still in maybe it's still in his preparation.
Yeah. Someone mentioned in the chat on Lichess, I saw after Jan played queen g4, they mentioned that after queen f3 it would have been 1.2 for white, which is a pretty big advantage. But none of us can understand why or how.
Yeah.
It's just, I mean, as far as I'm concerned, both moves seemed reasonable for me, and it was just an uneducated guess. Like in the game, you need to use different methods to just pick a move, and you can never actually figure out all the details. Either use your intuition or methods of assessments, or luck. It's also a very common mechanism that people like to use without admitting it. In chess, everyone pretend they're smart, but they just, they have luck or, or different spiritual abilities, Maybe it's, maybe they have destiny abilities, It's very important to be of a specific, what do you call it, sign? I forgot the word. Mazal.
I think it's called sign.
Yeah, specific sign. There is a different word for it. When you play chess. Yeah, but for a stupid joke, it doesn't work. Checking the translation. They have a word for it, I remember.
Astrological sign?
Yeah. I don't remember. I mean, I know how it should sound. So, zodiac sign. You heard it before, right?
Yeah.
It's hard to remember. Zodiac is the game with the frog, right? You know this computer game from the past? It's a cool game with the frog. I'll show you a picture. You'll definitely remember it in an instant. So, where is it? I want to show you. Maybe it's not called Zodiac and I'm just being silly. Like, it looks like this more or less. Like, the ball's moving towards the end and you have to stop them using the frog. But maybe the frog is not mandatory. Here we have an eagle.
I remember those sorts of games.
Yeah. But is it called Zodiac? Forgot. Now I can't do anything else until I find it. This is the game for sure, but what's the name?
Zuma Frog Ball.
There is a
Zuma Deluxe. It's called Zuma.
Zuma. Why did I think it was Zodiac?
Because of the Z.
Thank you.
There are like 3 words in English that start with a Z. Zebra, Zuma, and Zodiac.
Thank you for the explanation. I wouldn't have come up with it.
Yes,
That's
it is also, I guess, an incorrect explanation.
No, it might be correct. The zo.
No, that there are only 3 words in English that start with a Z.
Yeah, but I mean,
So that part is incorrect.
yeah. Why did I think Zuma was Zodiac? This is a blind spot for me. Anyway, let's get back on track. We have a game going. We have Queen G4 played, then Queen E5, then Knight F3, and I heard another move. What was it? It was Queen E6, and then Knight F5. These guys, they don't like to play slowly. I like it. Knight F5. The assisted analysis friend here likes Queen takes A6, and probably Knight back to D4. No, Rook D1. And we don't have an evaluation, but we can assume that it's close to equality, because these guys are amazing.
Yeah.
But Knight F5 was played. And probably the best move, because Knight F5 is not too green, is just moving the Queen to F6 and keeping the tension, because you don't want to open up the rook. White will be happy to open up the rook and go F6 later on. Like, if you go Queen F6, see, the computer doesn't even like it. What do I do? Queen E4, and I'm attacking here. And G4 maybe, and I control D5. Yeah, that's fairly correct. So Queen F6 keeps the tension. Now the knight on F3 is not so active, I would argue. This knight is not so nice, not having fun. And after Queen F6, White has to come up with a move. I'm sure Ding will find Queen F6 rather quickly, because he has only 40 minutes, he needs it for later. And after the move Queen F6, Black should be happy that his bishop is open and the pawn is on C4. He just has to get rid of the attack here and the weakness of the D6 pawn, and he will even be better. So White is the one who has to prove now. And this is very typical for Jan. He plays dynamically, and if it doesn't work, suddenly he has to keep finding precise moves. And he tries to put pressure, but he needs to know when to retire, let's say, from the attack, and to be precise when searching for the right path later on. It's like he's a very explosive player.
Yeah.
So he tries very concretely. I mean, we heard that from the Lichess chat that Queen F3 was correct. He had his chances, despite the opening choice that has been probably quite, let's say, harmless looking, Queen F6, and now either Rook D1 or, I don't know, Knight somewhere. Knight back, that's the offer of the engine. It didn't come from E3, so it's not back. Knight D4.
Yeah.
And now maybe E5 is coming. Bishop takes D4. Probably Knight takes D4. And we can finally move the Rook to A2. That's probably very close to a draw. Let's say Queen somewhere. And Both players have everything under control probably. The queen needs to come back to the game, but it's not so clear how. So maybe b4. And in this position, you can see how everything can be exchanged rather quickly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So hard to come up with a move. You see how easy it is and to analyze with these colors, but how difficult it is to understand what's going on.
Yeah.
Like the computer really knows what it's doing. And this is probably a draw. How did we reach here? Okay, so black has to play here. We anticipate queen f6 and we heard the capture, so he probably took on f5, which must be a mistake because of the color. It's not as bright green as the other move. And practically speaking, after this, it gives white the option to go queen e4. So black has to be precise. So probably black has to go back here with the idea of keeping d5 under control and preventing f6 with the pin. And probably white will move his queen to f4, threatening f6. And yeah, I don't see anything else that makes sense. So queen f4, black can probably try to stop f6 somehow. I'm not sure how because all the moves I'm trying to suggest have the wrong colors. Only queen d8. Wow, no. This is too much. Maybe queen c8 also. But now queen e4 controls d5. So we can expect queen d7, queen f4, and now for some reason, like this is a major threat, no need to explain, and only queen d8 is correct. That's why I didn't like knight takes f5. And now probably knight comes, and black is under heavy pressure. Probably have to take, otherwise you collapse. Queen takes d4. Maybe rook somewhere. I don't know. It feels bad for black, but or at least dangerous. Like black has a lot of weaknesses. White has an active queen. This pawn is actually good. Do you think he already played queen d7? No, he played queen f6. Seriously? Look, it's yellow.
Yeah.
Ding made a mistake probably. Queen e4 is the move we can anticipate. The point is that we attack the rook, we control d5, we want to go g4, we want to bring the knight to d5. And black's queen is a little bit passive here. And without being able to push d5, black would end up being passive, which is an equivalent word to being worse and under heavy pressure. So after queen e4, you can expect him to delve into a long think. When we are predicting queen e4, and now I can argue that white is better. And with that in mind, how about we take our short break and go for a walk? It's a nice weather outside, and maybe grab some snack. And I will see you guys in 30 to 60 minutes, all four of you. So thank you for watching. Stay tuned. There is a lot of thrill going on. So
Stay tuned.
tuned?
Because of the tune. The tune.
Stay tuned. That's very lovely. So here is the study by Yochanan Afek. I hope you can solve it. And we have a move. I just want to see if queen e4 was played. Yeah, baby, queen e4 was played. And he played quickly. Rook b8. You can stare at this. I should have prepared it. I should have prepared it in the break window. You know what? I'll do you guys a big favor. I'll stay with you until I have the setup ready. Because it's not fair. This is the Lichess live view. I should have prepared it for you. It makes no sense that why would I not show it during the break? How stupid am I? See? Just put it here. Put it like this. Yeah, nice.
Yeah, but give it a title so they will know what is the game and what is the tune. The tune.
Oh, that's a good idea. I think I can also do the game like a little bit bigger, you know? And then title, as promised, text. Real game. Oh, time. Everyone can see the real game. You see?
Yes.
It's almost clear now. Okay, enjoy the break. And we're back. So, welcome everyone. We have a new position, even though it didn't update. Queen e7 check is the current position of the game, 94. And let's have a look at what happened since we last left off. So, let's see if I can copy paste it to save my energy. No. The answer is no. So after rook b8, check it move by move. Rook e2 was played. I evaluated this position as better for white. I'm not sure how much, but white is pretty dominant. Rook b8, rook e2. Looks like a healthy move to aim against any d4 radius. Now, after rook e2, bishop c5, black just tries to consolidate. g4 by white. Queen d8 backwards. So now that we see this position, we can conclude that probably queen d7 followed by queen d8 would have been a much better choice because black maintains the control of the d5 square, at least for a few more moves, with the same piece placement. So after queen d8 here, black is threatening the positional move d5. So what does white do?
Puts his queen on d5.
See, very green. King f8 was played. It's very hard to play with black here. Now, I looked at this position during the break, and I tried to evaluate it, and I looked at it with the engine after I decided it's like something like 0.5 for white. The engine said it was like 0.9 or 1 plus 1, with the idea of king g2, knight d2, maybe 94. I didn't see that far, but probably 94. So Nepomniachtchi played a similar looking move, king f1, rook c8. Black doesn't have much to do. And probably knight d2 was the main idea, but for some reason maybe queen h4 provides some counterplay. I don't know. Now the best move is still king g2, according to the engine. But Jan played rook e4, which is probably also good. Rook b8 back, so black has nothing to do. And now Jan is going for the throat. He played g5. I like again this idea of preparing. Like black just played back and forth. I guess they won b4, but if I were white, I would probably just go king g2. I don't know. It's hard to come up with any move. As you can see, there are not many green squares. 95 according to the engine. That is weak by the chess-based program. So g5 is what Jan chose, which is not the most patient move. Unless it's winning, it's not the most patient option because white is very dominant. H takes g5. Maybe it tries to take advantage of black's time pressure because Ding had only 10 minutes. So I guess it makes sense that if you want to win, you want to play concrete moves while he has no time. Like there are 4 moves until move 40 where they get an extra hour. So g5, h takes g5, rook to g4. I'm assuming that f6 doesn't work, but it's hard to guess why. Probably h6 and knight h4 looking pretty strong. Let's show the viewers. h6, no, this is wrong by me, but that's my idea. Knight h4. So probably just if f6 there must be some tactic. Maybe knight h4 immediately. Yeah, you have to take and then h6. So the same idea with a different order. If g5, fg probably. Okay. So in this position f6 fails. So Ding Liren played rook a8 for counterplay, which is a strong move. Now knight takes g5, rook a1 check, king e2. If king g2, there is queen a8 probably. Exchanging the queens with the pin. And after king e2, queen e7 check. And Jan immediately played knight e4 back. King f3 is another option, which seems very complicated. Knight e4 was played rather quickly. Interesting. He had this king f3 option, but it shows us not to think. Jan feels, what do you call it? Like something in the water in this position. Uh, and he feels very comfortable just navigating through the complications. Seems like he's enjoying himself with his attacking prospects. Yeah, probably like fish in the sea. So after 94, Dean got his extra hour, but it's really hard to evaluate, and we don't have any external means, let's say. We only have our brains to look at this position at this point. So let's try to understand. In this very moment, black has to make a move. What do you have in mind? What is white threat? Actually, probably rook takes g7, right?
Yeah.
King takes an f6 fork. Probably h6 is also a bit scary. So black has to do something. If I get my queen to b7, I can force you to trade off the queens. Let's check. Or queen a8. In that case, it may have made sense to go with the queen to e8, with the same idea of forcing the queen trade on the next move.
Yeah.
Then white probably would have gone for king f3, queen a8. I don't know. Maybe knight h7 check with the draw. Who knows? King h8. This loses. I don't know. Maybe this is winning for black. Knight. Probably to e4. Yeah. It's hard to evaluate, but it looks good for white with f6 coming. Anyway, it's an interesting line. Queen e8 seems like the safest choice, but as you can see, it was move 40 and Ding was in time pressure. In fact, he had only 1 minute on the clock, and we can see from his move that he waited until the last couple of seconds before playing queen e7. And I'm sure he regrets not having this queen a8 resource here, because now it's really difficult to come up with a move. He's been thinking for 8 minutes already, and I'm not sure what to do with the black pieces. Queen e5 fails because it drops the bishop. So maybe rook b1, just trying to be active. Everything is red. Queen e5. Why is this green? Wow. So dropping the piece might be the best move. Is this what the computer is hinting? It must be a bad sign.
Yeah.
I mean, it looks like the only green move, you see? No piece is green. Maybe Ding is just lost.
Maybe.
If queen e5 is the only green option. Yeah, I wonder what's the evaluation after queen e8. And I wonder why it says it's red and then moves on to green, because maybe it's a different version of a losing position that's slightly better. You see? Wow. I'm looking at the chat on Leeches, but no one says something worth mentioning. So anyway, this position, Ding is in trouble. Wow, things took off since we left. This was the beginning of Ding's trouble. He should have kept the tension with queen f6 probably. Easier said than done. Queen d7 was or c8 was the next, let's say, best option versus this queen f6 that allows queen e4. I think Ding is not in his A game in this match. And you know, it's the first match in like recent probably 20 years. I didn't check it, but that like you have so many wins in the first couple of rounds.
Yeah.
It's like I remember back in the old days, even when Kasparov was challenged really heavily, they would sometimes have 7 draws in a row and so on.
Yeah.
I believe it was against Anand, and then Anand striked on game 8 or something. So in '95. So and like draws were much more common, and I think nowadays, like you see this world championship, regardless of how many victories each player will achieve, it will probably go down in history as one of the weakest world championships in terms of the amount of mistakes.
Yeah.
Because when
Probably.
you see Carlsen playing, he doesn't make that many mistakes as neither of these players. So, and in world championships, he does turn to make mistakes because he really wants to win. So rook e2, bishop c5, yeah, g4, and there is a famous phrase that in a bad position, all the moves are bad. So from this moment on, after Ding made these two choices of breaking the tension and picking the wrong square for the queen, not controlling the d5 square, I'm speaking based on intuition, by the way. I did not check it. I only saw the colors here after I already made up my mind. So just wanted to state this. Of course, who knows what I would have thought without having this assisted analysis. Maybe I would have played much worse than what black chose in the game. So queen f6. So these two moves in a row allowed white to have complete domination in the position, and now black is slowly squeezed. Like from this moment on, the position is just bad. I'm not sure if I agree with all of white's decisions, but this g5 in time pressure seems like a good practical decision. And yeah, now after king e2, I'm sure white had an idea after queen e8. What could it be? Rook e4. Probably interesting. Like, so if you go queen a8, I can checkmate you. There's no pin. So you have to go to d7. What is the win? f6 probably. gf6 seems forced, right? Knight doesn't move. So must be something with the rook. h6. Takes and h7. No, not h7. There's rook h1. Queen takes g5 with queen g7 checkmate. Now you probably need to move the f pawn. And then there is a forced mate. Queen f6, queen f7, queen d8. So if king g8, the easiest mate is rook e8. Followed by queen g. Sorry, it's check. My bad. The easiest mate is h7. So king takes h7 falls into rook h4 and rook h8, and queen takes h7 runs into rook e8. This is pretty nice geometry. So, and I'm sure h7 should win, but as I'm saying it, you can see it marked with red. It's probably red because of it not being a checkmate, and I think it wins nevertheless. Must be winning, right? Queen f6, queen d8. It looks very much winning for white. Yeah. Whatever. Anyway, nice idea of f6 and h6, which is hard to see in advance. And so that's why I didn't play rook e8. Queen e8. Ding is not to be criticized easily. So knight e4 was played instantly, and black is still thinking, and sadly our assisted analysis here showed that there are no pieces that are green besides the one move that drops a piece, which is probably equivalent to resignation in this level. And Ding opted for queen e8, which is the second best if it's yellow here, as you can see. But I'm sure white can do something. Let's turn off the analysis thing and try it for ourselves. Like in tactical positions, it's not so useful to just see green, red,
Yeah.
because it's basically you have infinite tries when in chess you only get one try. So let's analyze without knowing what's correct. So here, as I mentioned many times before, we like to approach the position and think about three factors, or let's say three different methods in order: checks, captures, and threats. This is our method for calculation if it doesn't come naturally to us. All the chess players in the world are divided into two categories: intuitive players, and let's call them calculative players, people who like calculating. And they use this method one way or another, no matter how you define it. So checks are of no use.
Yeah.
So captures are very useful. And these are the main threats that we can come up with. Okay. Another interesting move to create a threat is obviously king f3, because the knight is free.
Yeah.
So intuitively speaking, we can eliminate rook g7 pretty quickly, right?
Yeah.
And then we're left with the pawn moves, which
So
must work somehow.
f6 seems very strong for me.
Okay, f6 essentially forces g takes f6.
And then I'm starting pushing the h pawn.
Okay. Let's say I go rook h1, that's my only chance.
All right. So now I'll have to king d2.
Yeah, but then my rook can defend the key squares. So let's try to change the order. What if I go king d2 first? Just with your same idea.
Yeah.
It
So
also
that's
has the rook g8 idea. You see?
yeah. And then there is knight takes
f6
f6.
coming up. Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's
queen
suppose I
d4.
go queen e5, for example, but I don't have any checks. Maybe I have to go queen e6, so that at least I can tuck your rook. Well, it's not so easy to win with white. So maybe what we tried is a little bit too slow. So let's try h6. Maybe here we can find some forcing move that works.
Oh, I think I found. Oh no, sorry. I ignored the pin.
Okay, so king d2 is not bad actually, because here I missed a resource that you had, knight takes e5. And after this e5, do you see the win?
Wait a second. Takes. I think I do. It's queen g5. Oh no. Absolutely no. Queen here. Queen protects. Queen there. Yeah, I think I do. So it would be queen d6 checks. Queen.
Take the pawn.
Yeah. And then queen c8 check, and then rook g8.
That's correct. Takes, and takes with check, and black can resign with the rook versus the queen. Yeah, you can also do rook g8 immediately, but your move is more precise as it grabs the queen with the check. Okay, nice. So you may have just found the win that will actually take place in the game. Let's see the other option. If you start with h6 and he takes, it's not so easy to come up with a follow-up for white. So f6 is probably the right way. Now let's check g6, which makes sense. Now that we know that gf might be losing. Takes. You have to take probably.
They have like push.
Rook h4 is the simplest one. Who's going for the throat straight away. Right?
Yeah.
There's nothing that can be done. Okay, so g6 doesn't work. So let's get back to gf. h6. Let's try some desperate alternatives. If black goes queen e5 or queen e6 like earlier, with the idea of taking the rook on g4 with check, if you let me, I can just take.
Yeah, take, and then
h7, followed by
knight takes f6.
rook g8, even better.
Yeah.
In fact, if I was white here, I would probably take here first even, even though it's not the best move.
For the draw or for simplification?
For simplification. If you take, you will have no pieces left. If you go rook h1, my idea was to go here. Oh no, king e8. I wanted to go here, and then rook g7, and then h7.
No, but even for king d8, you have knight captures on f6, and then you have h7.
And then...
Oh, and
yes.
then you have nothing.
Yeah. Maybe knight g8, still winning, and then rook g7 next. I'm not sure which one is more precise, but it's an interesting idea, knight d7 check, followed by knight f6 and knight g8. I'm sure it's absolutely winning, but it's a little bit of stretch. That's the word I was looking for. Yeah, h7 just resigns on the spot. There's nothing. I mean, the bishop doesn't have anywhere to go anyway.
Yeah.
Okay, so queen e8. The move king f3 was played. Now that's what I like to refer to as class. He probably saw f6. Maybe black has some resource that we missed, maybe not. But after king f3, you renew all the threats without necessarily paying a price. Probably, yeah. The main resource for black now is queen a8, most likely. Actually, I'm not sure what white wants here.
Yeah. Maybe he wants not to lose, like...
No, probably he wants to take and then play f6. There is no such thing as not to lose in a winning position. Like he just wants to win. But
yeah,
let's take this.
Not to take any chance that he's missing something.
No, but he's good enough to calculate all the way until the end. So maybe he missed something. But let's see. Queen e8. I'm sure Jan Nepomniachtchi, like he has like an hour and 40 minutes. So if he didn't play f6, then it doesn't win by force. That's at least as far as he's concerned. Maybe we missed a very important resource. Maybe there is a move like queen e6. I don't know. No, but then there's fg. I don't know. There might be some resource that we have missed. We'll look at it. We'll look into it very shortly. But here, king f3 creates an even deadlier version of f6, but he must have taken into account queen a8. And now here, this is the only move that makes sense, which essentially forces black to take. g6 is not losing as rapidly, but this must be losing, because the bishop is out of the game forever, you see? You cannot push d5.
Yeah.
This must be lost, for sure. So you have to probably take here. And if we try to predict what he had in mind, it must have something to do with h6 and h7 in some way. Let's try to calculate. It's also possible that he just wants to put the knight on f5, but so let's see.
He has knight captures on f6.
King e7 only move.
Um,
Knight g8 check maybe, followed by h6, h7, h8.
yeah.
It looks like a nice creative solution. Maybe that's how he wants to finish him off. Let's say, for example, king somewhere, h6. Only move that makes sense is rook a1 to try to go from behind. But the most direct here is just king g2, not letting you come back.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's resign worthy. So let's see. That's probably what Jan is aiming for. Queen a8, takes, f6, and you have to take, or g6, which is losing easily. This, and knight g8. Quite a beautiful variation, I have to say. Knight g8 is an invisible move to some players. And we have queen a8 on the board. Black has no choice. Otherwise, he just resigns after f6. We are surely going to see queen takes a8 quite rapidly. I cannot imagine any other move taking place here because the queen doesn't have any square.
Yeah.
Square.
Square o'clock.
So queen takes a8, rook takes a8, f6, gf6, knight f6, king e7, knight g8. Game over. Probably we'll see a resignation after knight g8. f6 was played. Let's see if it updates on my board. Probably not. Yeah, it does. Woo, it updates. Okay, so f6, g takes f6 is to be seen. It's so sad. Ding has so much time, but all he can do is torment himself. And at this point, even though it's not so, not the thing that you would want to experience if you were in their shoes, I would like to have a look at the players' faces, Like I mentioned, there's the video on the official stream, so you can see one side who's a bit more relaxed and happy, and the other side is a little bit more in pain, which is interesting because chess players usually are very good at hiding it, even more than poker players. But it seems like that in such moments, the nerves are just crack for 95% of the top players. Like Kasparov, one of the things he was famous for is his ability to stay cold-blooded at all times. Kramnik, probably Anand, Carlsen as well. All those players, they had nerves of steel, as they say. And Boris Gelfand from Israel is also known for that. And by the way, there is one of the most brilliant players in history of chess, named Vasily Ivadchuk, who was many people predicted that he would be the next world champion, but his main flaw, arguably, is his nerves. Every now and then, he has this in common with Nepomniachtchi also. Like every now and then, he gets frustrated or zones out for a moment or just feels emotional. It's hard to describe because he doesn't speak about it very much, but you can see that every now and then, when the pressure is real, when it's money time, he's not at his best. Throughout history, and you can see in front of you a player who is not really thinking about chess anymore.
Yeah.
He took on f6. It's like he's just waiting for his executioner. And yeah, we can repeat the line again. h6. Sorry, knight takes f6, king e7, knight g8. It's funny in the official stream.
No, he didn't take it. It's the analysis board.
Yeah, I see. In the official stream, they don't see our move. They suggest knight takes c5, tc5, h6, king e7, h7, rook h8, and they check this position with rook h4, which doesn't seem very convincing to me. f5, rook h6, f6, king here. king here. I mean, it is winning.
Yeah.
It is winning, but it's a
Much longer.
it's a blitz kind of win that white would choose. Actually, rook h6 that I played was probably wrong. Like in this position, if rook h6, I allow king f8, and they win what might be a crucial tempo. So the analysis goes king f4, king f6. But let's follow the game. So he took on f6.
Oh, he pushed.
No, he pushed to g6. He understood that after gf6 he has no chance. I like to think that knight f6 followed by knight g8 is the most convincing way. Okay, let's check it a little bit. h6, f5, rook g7. Seems like that's when the old lady thinks.
Yeah.
Was the fat lady thinks? Yeah, the fat lady, right?
Yeah.
That's the phrase. So, but I like the old lady things. That's even better. So,
Especially if she used to be fat.
you know, I do it in English sometimes, but in Hebrew, when people who are new to the country, like immigrants or, you know, fresh Israelis who come from ex-USSR countries or United States, when they use terms that make sense, but they use the wrong word, and then I suddenly think to myself, this phrase actually makes more sense than the original one. I gave you a few examples once, I remember. So, the most famous one, for those who speak Hebrew, I'll just say, instead of להחזיק מעמד, a Russian friend once said, להחזיק מאמץ.
Yeah.
So, Russian speaking friend, I should say. Not from Russia of today. So, let's see. We have g6 over the board. We can anticipate h takes g6, which already happened.
Yeah, there might
fg, rook g6. And he's trying for his last hope, rook to a2. And now white has to find probably a sequence that would, what do you call it, coordinate the knight and the rook together. So, for example, knight g5, rook b2, aiming for rook f2, knight h7 check. That's my suggestion.
Yeah, so
Probably.
I would have checked from e6, so there would be an option to capture the bishop.
Yeah.
Not immediately, but
but the problem is that the rook f2 is coming quickly. So I'm just trying to get there in check. I'm not sure if I'm right, but I just want to check it quite literally. So here, the problem is that f7 fails to rook f2. So he's trying to be sophisticated with rook b2 and come from behind. So what's the easiest win here? If there is a win. Jan seems very concentrated. And yeah, people in the chat only just say it's plus 62. Okay, let's check for mate. I mean, your idea with knight g5, rook g7, knight e6, rook e7 mate is very effective if it would work.
yeah, I'm not calculating as quick as you are.
Probably you need to move the f pawn, so the rook won't be allowed to get behind the pawn. So let's say, for example, king here, rook takes b2 and f3, and then that would be a nice idea. Probably f3 is not even necessary. But d5 is a threat. So maybe f3, and then try to bring the knight over. And the rook is very far away from the defense. That would be my guess for the solution. I don't know. What else? Anything else? I don't see any other ideas. King f4. I don't see anything else that's simple enough. However, my idea from earlier, now that I look at it, it could just, might as well work. Because here f7 fails, but I have rook e7. And this also wins. See? Quite easily.
Yeah.
So rook e7 also helps me get there in time. And here, I can just insert another check and check. And once again, I have f7 if you don't go to e6. And if you do, yeah, dead lost. King f5. There's no time for d5 because the rook blocks. What else? King c6, f7, d5. Can go rook f8, rook f2, and d5. No, that's not. It's not working. Okay. Don't mind me.
No, d5 might help us. It's open the bish to guard the.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Black is defending in time here. So just king f4.
This is the reason I wanted to like for intuitional reasons. This is why I wanted to give the check from e6 so that I could capture the bish.
Yeah, me too, but it doesn't work.
Unfortunately.
Yeah. What can we do? King f4. He will most definitely go rook b2 and then f3. And now the pawn acts as an umbrella from checks, from the rain of checks that's coming. And now rook g7 followed by knight wherever.
Doesn't d5 might hold? Oh, I see.
Yeah, black's pieces are very uncoordinated. Maybe you want to play bishop a3 followed by d5, but then I'm probably in time. Because even if you get d5 in, my threat of going knight e6 followed by f7 is just too powerful. Because you don't have a square for the king.
Yeah.
So rook e2 is probably your only chance. And I can check from here. Check from there. Arguably f8 is probably just good enough, but let's find a better win. So instead of rook g7, how about knight g5 straight away? This way I win a tempo because knight e6 could be a threat. And if you go d5 now, I get this with tempo. I'm not sure if it's good. What's the easiest? King e4, f3, bishop a3. Knight g5, d5. Maybe this, and now king f5. Yeah, this is finished. Rook g7 and f7 can't be stopped. So I vote for king f4. I'm going to fix my Lichess stream somehow. It's been many days that this function on Lichess hasn't worked well with the streaming thing. which I spoke Russian. Now look at the other streams. So I have a theory now that the only way that this stream would work and you would see my name here is if I stay on the Lichess page for long enough. Because in terms of programming, the Lichess website server checks all the authorized streamers, the verified streamers. It goes through their channels like every 30 seconds or so, or a minute, and searches for live stream with the code lichess.org. And I have all the criteria, so probably the only reason it didn't work is either I'm in the wrong account here, or I should just be on the window and I'm not.
Yeah,
You know?
I'm not sure about it. Not a streamer or as experience.
Two
with
times
web
in the
apps.
past, my name popped up here. It did work, but I don't know what I did differently because it seems like I did everything exactly in the same fashion. Yeah. Live, live, live. There are many people who are live. I guess they have a ranking. I see that out of the different. I think they choose according to the amount of viewers, but I don't see myself here. It doesn't work. I think it doesn't recognize that I'm live. King f4 was played, wasn't it? Yes. Oh, King g4. They ignored my move. Okay. King g4. Rook takes b2 and rook h6. Okay, that seems like a much more forcing way to play. Let's check what happened. So instead of my king f4, they went king g4. Nepomniachtchi. Now rook takes b2. And now the point was rook h6. And probably what white wants to do is a cool mating idea. Let's say bishop h3 like earlier. He wants to go rook h8, king f2, and king f5 followed by checkmate.
Yeah.
This is a very cool idea. If you go king g8, which is the only way to stop it, I can do one of two things. Either bring my king like this, or bring my knight over, which is bad. It allows this. Maybe king f5. Bishop takes f2 is the only sensible option that I can come up with. And king g6, threatening f7. There's absolutely nothing you can do against it.
Yeah.
So that's probably all she wrote. After king g4. Yeah. So trying to watch the live stream. It seems like bishop take. What's going on? Why is Jan thinking? Did they play? Did they play? I think there is some delay going on. I think they finished, but I'm not sure. My internet here is not so impressive. So I'm looking for the other stream. Did I press something? Rook h6. What is this weird thing going on here? What? What's this little window? It didn't exist before. Wow. Okay, rook h6 is on the board. Let's see. I think Liren is thinking in this position. Someone in the chat is writing there in the official stream, Ding, don't resign!
Maybe he's a Gotham tutor. Maybe he's a Gotham student.
Maybe. Are you?
No.
You mean official student or just viewer?
I mean, I don't know, something between a constant viewer to a official student.
Mm-hmm. So in this situation, let's see if Black has any hope for defense. Even though the people in the chat on Lichess like to determine the evaluation all the time. Internet is too slow. So what else? He's thinking for a long time already. So you're close to beating Cristiano.
We're never playing.
Well, he knows who you are. He agreed to the match against you if they made a rapid draw. But it seems like they haven't. So Rook h8 is a mating trap. What is the move that can hold on for just one more sec? Maybe Rook e2. But I can still go with King f5. I don't want to go Rook h8 because in this version you can sack the exchange and take my pawn. And even though it's winning, it's a technical task.
Yeah.
But if I go King f5 immediately, you still have no choice. But the f pawn is alive. You see?
Yeah.
I'm threatening death. And probably your only move is King g6. And I can just ignore the fact that the knight is hanging and go King g6. And there's absolutely nothing in your power that you can do.
I think maybe d5.
I have knight c5, but even if I don't, your king blocks your bishop.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. So we can expect a resignation anytime, any minute now. Just like my internet resigned. People are writing comments about resignation. Resigning offers dignity and respect to both. Resign to remain graceful and honest, and to show respect to your competitor. Resigning is Ding's top engine move.
I think you should offer a draw first.
That's what you've always said, but
Yeah.
maybe one day you would write a book about it.
No need to.
Write a whole book just as a specific way to throw.
Yeah. So, I learned it from a previous opponent of mine when I was playing actively as a kid. So I was like leading like two moves from checkmating him, and he was like proposing and draw and send his hand forward. I was like, no, but I was like, I really liked the attempt. Like maybe sometimes, someday, someone will say yes.
So I think I just made up a dead joke, which didn't happen this stream so far. So when a pawn reaches the last rank, it goes to a pawn shop in order to become a bishop.
I thought you would say it becomes a transgender in order to become a queen.
Oh, that's a different kind of surgery. There is a famous meme about it. The pawn being held like on a on a bed, being tied, screaming his guts out, no! And then like, it's your destiny. So my internet is very bad. Okay, we can expect a move in the next 24 and a half minutes.
Yeah.
Or resignation.
Maybe this is his strategy. I'm just running the time down.
Okay, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm going to make an attempt to fix my streamer thing. Let's see how it works. It doesn't know that my stream is live, you see? It's really a shame. I'm talking about the Lichess website that doesn't know. It doesn't show me on the front page where I belong. Oh, Black resigned. We have a result. Okay. Well, are you excited?
Yes.
So, Nepomniachtchi won again. The press conference is sure going to be a torment. This time I'm not going to watch it. I feel like it's an unfair part of the contract. If after players lose like this, to put them, in front of the world with cameras and ask them silly questions and personal questions and political questions.
Yeah.
And then they hold themselves very hard not to cry sometimes. Sometimes they don't manage to. And a lot of people who watch don't respect them as much as we do, and they tend to, say bad things. So I would like to allow people to skip the press conference if they choose,
Yeah,
and just to make it
or like,
to
or
make
like,
it a choice based on respect.
yeah, or like have them, or like at least let them like press for about 30 minutes to 1 hour before the press conference.
Yes, and no, but the press conference is usually, you have, let's say, 50,000 people watching live. You don't want to have them waiting. You want to put it
Yeah,
and that's like the main advantage of the mainstream versus all the streams like ours and chess.coms and so on. That we might have strong players, but we don't have the press conference and other like different kinds of access to the players. But the conference itself, I think they should be able to not show up or leave in the middle if someone asks an inappropriate question, like they do with all the soccer players,
yeah,
Someone comes to interview them, they say something, and they choose when they leave. They are not forced
yeah,
to sit there until the organizer says so. Okay, so this has been enough for round 5. Ding lost with the black pieces. We have 3 decisive results in the first 5 rounds, which is a lot. I don't recall such a thing in a long, long time. And we are surely going to see an exciting 9 rounds for the remaining of the event, and maybe a tiebreak
yeah.
on the 30th of this month. So thank you all very much for watching, and thank you, Ido, for joining me. And I appreciate all 4 of you, and and we'll see each other in the next rounds.